gentlemen, and welcome back to Chilluminati Podcast. We are now on episode 21. As always, I am one of your hosts.
Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah.
Legal.
We're legal to drink, but we've always been legal to serve
What? I thought you said regal, and I was like, wait, what does that mean?
No.
Regal. 21 years old, baby.
What more
We're
do you
totally
need?
regal. Get your purple colors out. Come on, baby. Royalty before you.
Well,
I don't like this voice.
No, I don't know. I don't know who this
creepy.
character
Not
is.
a fan. Not a fan.
I'm a little nervous.
sound like
yeah,
the
no.
monster lady from Monsters Inc.
Oh, yeah.
Wazowski.
What's her name? Rosaline or something like that? She has
I have
some...
no idea. Rosalina, that's it.
There you go. She's Rosalina from Nintendo there. As always, though, I am one of your hosts, Mike, and as always, I'm joined by Jesse and Alex. And today is an exciting day. You guys have been begging for it, and we've dipped a little bit, but they've still been, relatively grounded episodes on things that are funky but have like an actual history to them. But we're going out. I want your tinfoil hats on. I want your conspiracy theory jackets on, and I want your Chilluminati
So
underwear.
ready.
I want your Chilluminati underwear tightly wrapped around your torso, and I want your pants.
Do we sell Chilluminati underwear?
No, but we need to. So if you
Coming soon to the
anybody
Yeti
wants
shop.
to sponsor us, yeah, or coming soon,
Call us.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do
Me undies, I hear you. I see you.
Right?
I wear you, so.
I don't, but I will. But today is a special episode because we're going back. We covered a little bit, and if you remember, gentlemen, let me take you back a few months to some of the earliest episodes of Chilluminati.
A better time.
A better
More
time.
innocent time.
Prior to the Tommy Patera trilogy, prior to
Before
the
we knew
crime.
true evil, yeah.
Yeah, before we knew what true
Scarred us.
evil was like.
Before Harold the doll.
Before Harold the Doll, which, by the way, he's still sitting over there. He's done nothing at all. I have not removed the tape off of his mouth, however.
Give it time.
Oh, Jesse's going to get something right now. Or he's going to get something.
Oh, yeah.
You can't
This
see
is
it.
another thing. This is another thing that happened.
Well, he's been getting sent a lot of things as well. Oh, do
Yeah,
you
this
wanna...
right here, this creepy
Football, supposedly?
football from the first Thanksgiving. It's terrifying.
Maybe that's something we'll
Terrifying.
crack open at CoxCon. Who
Yes.
knows?
We should. We
Who
should
knows?
just get the dirty on us.
Right? Just bring
Yeah,
us things.
Yeah, let's import that. Let's see how they do.
Import curses from another land. But we covered initially, I think it was like episode 3 or so, 2 or 3. We initially covered Hollow Moon, and then we discussed Hollow Earth, pretty close to one another, back to back. And there were a lot of
And
things
if you've
there.
seen DC's Aquaman, you know the Hollow Earth theory, totally true.
It's true. I haven't seen
Totally
Aquaman
true.
yet.
I don't know what that means. I have not seen that movie. I am now convinced to see it
Yeah.
based on that. I don't know what
It is.
that means.
It's part of the film. I'm just saying, totally true.
Well, I'm going to tell you that there are there are bits and pieces of both of those theories that are true, but the most of it I'm going to tell you is wrong, not because science proves it wrong, because the whole while the moon and Mars and even some other planets in our solar system have been holding alien life there. And
This whole time?
and NASA and the government has been covering it all up. And we're going to talk
Okay.
about why. Let me take you away from the land of truth and honesty and bring you to a land of extra truth and extra honesty.
Yeah. Question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is this stuff you guys actually believe?
Me?
This?
You want to do what? Can I?
Well, usually we have one of these things where you guys are like, "This has got to be real," and I'm like, "Oh, this is stupid." And I'm curious because this stuff I actually know about. I think it's fascinating, but
I do not. I will say I do not. I don't think, but maybe
I don't know where we're going. I'm open to
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Let's dive in and we can give our final opinions at the end.
okay, I'm just saying.
Like I said, while the Hollow Moon and the Hollow Earth were incredibly convincing arguments, none are going to be as convincing as this. But where do we start? How far do I bring you back? Let me bring you back to 1976, the year we got the photo of the monkey face on Mars. As some,
The face on Mars. Yeah.
yeah,
The
as some-
classic. The classic.
yeah, that was that was one of the tabloids. They put it as the monkey face on Mars.
I don't know. They call it a monkey face.
Well, it was just the tabloid.
To me, I'm thinking like Ray Bradbury, like Martian Chronicles alien face is what it evokes.
It looks
to me.
kind of like a robot face, like
Kinda.
a blank robot
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
A little humanesque, a little bit. You could like your pareidolia could easily kind of create a human face out of it. But everyone knows this photo, and if somehow you don't know this photo, just go to Google and just Google face on Mars. It's like gonna guaranteed be the first thing that pops up.
It's so famous.
You should know it. But this photo is actually just one of 18 photos that were taken on that particular expedition to cover that part of Mars known as Cydonia or Cydonia. I don't know how you pronounce it.
Cydonia, as in the Knights of Cydonia.
Right.
Right.
But I've also seen it written with a K instead of a C, so I don't know if it's supposed to be pronounced Cydonia, but I call it Cydonia, and I'm
Sounds
fine with
fern to me.
it. Most of the images were of good quality, and by that I mean they were about 800
By 76 standard quality.
Yeah, exactly.
1976
standard of quality, which means about 820 feet per pixel. So each pixel on that photo was gigantic swaths of land.
So how big is this fucking face?
Right. Well, big, very, very, very big. And then the rest of the photos were actually worse, and they were about 1,800 feet per pixel. So the faces we see of the face on Mars are actually of the quote unquote higher quality kind. These were mostly used to study the surface of Mars and its landscape. But little did they know, what they truly discovered was evidence of alien activity on Mars itself, and the first step toward unraveling the great NASA cover-up of not only aliens on Mars, but also moons around Saturn as well, and Venus.
Dennis Rodman, Elvis.
All of them. They're all aliens.
So before we get to the cover-up, what I'm about to say won't matter because it's a cover-up. So clearly they had time to fake photos.
Of course.
But for those of you who are curious, it's been many, many years since we found this picture of a face on Mars. Mm-hmm. Clearly they must have gone back, and in fact they have. They went back in 98 and in 2001 with much higher resolutions. They literally have a satellite up there called like the Mars Global Surveyor. It's gone back repeatedly. Again, could all be part of the cover-up.
It's all part of the cover-up, man.
Or they have much higher quality photos now, and literally it's just like a mesa.
A mountain.
Yeah, it's just a mountain. But the
they
fascinating
probably weren't
thing,
looking in the right place.
No,
There's
NASA's
a million
photoshopping
mountains.
the photos.
Clearly they're photoshopping.
Photos.
But the fascinating thing has nothing to do with what it is, right? It's like just a mesa, like you would imagine, like a bluff somewhere. But what's interesting is that there are many of them, and they're all positioned in between this area that I guess was right along where an old ancient ocean would be. And so at some point in time, there's a massive ocean on Mars, and it's gone now, whatever the hell happened. And this would have been like beachfront property, and basically...
I saw something like this on the early Google images, like off like Florida area, like lower East Coast, where there was like forms in the Google mapping underground that looked like they were buildings before like a flood came. That's some interesting shit.
It's real fascinating to see that at one point Mars had water, and there definitely was probably 100% life that lived on Mars. I don't know if it was like,
do you think they wore robes?
I don't know if it was like alien, like, hello, but stuff was going down, and I'm much more fascinated with like, what happened to Mars, man?
Well, we can talk about what happened to Mars if you'd like to know.
That's what we're gonna get to. So let's
all of everything I say is going to be factual. So don't worry about it. And there's actually, I think there was at one point a meteorite that we had discovered or had landed that actually held like a single-celled like either organism.
There are many people who believe the destruction of Mars is what prompted the population of like Earth with life.
Like the thing where it like hit Mars and like a chunk came off and gave us our first microbes and whatnot.
Even the moon. People think that the moon was part of whatever nonsense. Yeah.
Well, we're actually going to talk about our moon a little bit here. There's like Jesse's already discovering. There's a lot we could dive into and like really extrapolate, but we're going to just talk about one thing: the truth. So,
when you say that, I don't believe you. The
real
more
truth.
you say it, the less I believe.
It's the truth, man. You can't convince me. So, shortly after the release of these photos, two computer scientists by the names of Vincent DiPietro and Gregory Molinar took them and digitally enhanced them with a computer technique that they themselves had actually developed. Again, this is all 70s computer tech. Keep that in mind. Early 80s at the very latest. So, what they developed and the technique they used, I didn't really deep dive into it other than the fact that they were computer scientists at the time and they just digitally enhanced them to the best.
This is like on a cassette tape or something.
Yeah, like this is like old school, digital quote unquote enhancement. But what they discovered was that not only did the landmass itself seem to form a humanoid-like face, but the face also appeared to have details like pupils, teeth, and even a hairline. And I will say, if you go look at the photos, and I was looking at them as they were talking about them, and I was researching them, you can kinda maybe see like a hairline. I don't see pupils per se, and I don't really see teeth, but I can kind of see where they see a hairline. So I can
It looks less like a hairline and more like a pharaoh's hat.
Yeah, I agree. It's a much more that, but I see where they were
Did
kind
they
of
like a
have
hoodie,
their
like a dude
own
got a hoodie.
data on? Did they have more data, or were they just enhancing?
just enhancing the NASA photos. That's all.
All they did was like scroll in a bunch.
yeah, pretty much zooming.
It's not that high tech.
No, it's very blurry, and and since it's so blurry and pixelated, there's a lot to left up into your imagination. Again, 1970s science, more or less. But those images, as far as Vincent and Gregory go, as far as this story goes, that's where their story ends. They've served their purpose. They digitally enhanced some photos, thought, oh, that is kind of interesting, and that was more or less where they left it. Then those images obviously were released, and enter the man who would perpetuate the theory from here on out, and even to today continues to do exactly that. A man by the name of Richard C. Hoagland, who would come onto the scene and turn the entire world on its head. Or at least, that's what he would hope. He had never seen the newer, more enhanced photos from, he had seen, rather, the newer, more enhanced photos from Vincent and Gregory, and while certainly bewildered and impressed by the face on Mars, Hoagland was more blown away by what he claimed to see a few miles south of the monkey face on Mars. Good old Richard here saw mile-long pyramids surrounded by a fortress-like structure, an exposed honeycomb of floors, and a main avenue surrounding a possibly town square of this Mars-ruined city to the south of this face on Mars.
Town square, honeycomb-like levels, pyramids that are miles long, and you can actually go ahead and Google that as well, and you can go look up the images for it. What are these?
There's a much larger photo than what most of us see is just a very close up of the face.
Yeah,
but there's a much bigger photo, and if you go down, look south, it's called the Cydonia Pyramid Complex.
Yes,
and yeah, I'm gonna chalk this one up to 70s technology, but still, it's it's fascinating to dream, Richard. It's fascinating to dream.
You say dream, Richard says science.
Richard is the name we always use as the royal name for everyone together.
Richard.
Yeah, listen, Richard.
Listen, Rich.
Listen, Richard.
Don't be a dick, Rich.
Don't be a dick, Rich.
Don't be a rich dick.
Also, don't be a rich dick, which is clearly not what he's trying to go for, as he's desperately trying to bring the truth of the matter to the masses.
I don't know if this is the same photo or the old photo or what, but it's like it's showing like a zoom in of the plateau that's the face.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you zoom out on it, even now, it still kind of looks like a face. I mean, when you zoom in, you can see the features and that it's not a face.
Well, one could argue that the face is there because of the time of day that the pictures were taken and the shadows cast on the actual mountain caused it to look like a face. Or it's just a face aliens made that we'll get into. So this information itself, if true, would be utterly groundbreaking. It would make headlines everywhere. Everything would be turned on its head. But if there's one thing I've learned about good old Richie Hoagland, it's that every time he suddenly discovers something, it's even more mind-blowing than his previous discovery. This wouldn't be the only thing that he would discover. Rich is a modern mastermind. He's a genius. We'll talk about his schooling a little later, but this man is quite intelligent. But if there's we'll just go on to the next thing he discovered. Hoagland then went on to show that not only were these discoveries all important, but they were also connected in a way that he had not initially realized. Taking a compass, a calculator, and the 5-inch by 5-inch printout of the digitally enhanced picture, he shows a series of mathematical relationships between the face, the supposed ruins of the city, and the mile-long 5-sided pyramid that he ended up discovering. Afterward, he describes that all of the key angles in the city and the pyramid point directly to the face, while other landmarks seem to correlate to the sun's rising during the summer and the winter solstice, of course. But this would only be the beginning.
Of Mars?
Of Mars.
What the hell?
Are you not already convinced? So yeah,
I'm looking
he's saying
at the math.
what he's saying. Yeah. Oh, you're trying to look at the math.
Yeah.
Good luck. But yeah, basically what he's saying is he drew a bunch. The way I interpreted it by looking at these mathematical equations is he literally just drew a bunch of lines that seemed to him at the very least important, and deduced from these lines and quote unquote equations that the city and the pyramid are pointing at the face, and then the other points of the city and then the rest of the points of the pyramid have something to do with the winter solstice and the sun's rising.
This is like the JFK Abraham Lincoln shit.
Back
This is
and to
like-
the left.
back
And to the left.
This is crazy.
Are you telling me that you don't believe scientist Richie Hoagland here?
I'm not saying that. I don't want to say that because I'm open to whatever, but I just am. I don't immediately look at this and think math.
Well, that's why you're not seeing the truth, Alex.
You're right. I gotta
open your mind more.
I gotta believe harder.
Jesse, are you believing?
No.
Okay, so we'll continue then. Maybe
That's a strong no for me.
I haven't convinced you yet
Are you
that
sure?
this is all actually happening. Am I sure?
No, are you sure, Jesse, that you don't believe yet?
I definitely don't. I am a longtime listener of
Oh, yes.
the many things Richard C. Hoagland has been on. So I'll simply just say, I didn't believe then, I don't believe now.
Well, maybe later, maybe some of this other stuff. So, as you may imagine, all of the stuff that, again, should be groundbreaking, should be mind-blowing, has not turned the tide of the media, government, or outside of his niche following at this point, anybody, really, in the public. But he wasn't done yet. For years, Hoagland would continue to study and obsess over the ruins on Mars and what it means for humanity. And fun fact, in 1976, he was actually the one to start the write-in campaign to name the shuttle the Enterprise after his favorite show, Star Trek. He started that whole write-in campaign to the president to get the first shuttle named Enterprise.
That totally worked.
It did work, actually. It actually was his claim to fame for a while. But perhaps his biggest discovery would come in the early 90s. The 80s were all about those mathematical equations, but the early 90s began to see, I guess if you don't believe that he had jumped the shark yet, this might be your jump the shark moment for our dear boy, David Hoagland. Clearly the world hadn't fully accepted his findings, but that didn't stop him. He continued to obsess and study everything that he could, working and reworking his own mathematical equations on the photos from the 70s. What he discovered was that the photos actually held complex geometric patterns whose, quote, purpose seems to introduce us to a set of equations opening up a whole new window of physics, end quote, which Hoagland refers to as hyperdimensional physics. And in an issue of Omni magazine, he actually goes further to explain, quote, these will provide a fundamental connection between the four forces of nature, end quote, which would then allow us to tap into an energy from potentially wholly new dimensions, bristling up against our very own.
What?
What?
So this is because of the way that the things are oriented.
The way that the things are oriented
photographs
in the photograph
that we took.
Those equations, the geometric patterns of not only the photographs on obviously the where how things are positioned, but his own mathematical equations, he then discovers that these are actually hidden equations that will open our world to a whole new window on physics, which would let us tap into the four forces of nature on Earth and then possibly tap into potentially whole new dimensions for energy.
This is crazy. Has any research been done into hyperdimensional physics?
Hoagland has been.
Is he like funding studies? Is he? I mean, I don't know what.
I wouldn't say he's funding studies. He's not doing much other than writing books, more or less.
Does he have money? Like, is he rich?
I actually didn't research into if he's a rich man or not.
I'm so interested in like whether he's like a crazy guy who's like using his resources to like find his own answers, like Terrence Howard, or if he's like if he's like a con man.
I think maybe your second one's a little closer.
My second one.
You're the latter.
My bold new theory on Hoagland.
But who knows? Maybe he's right. Maybe these are the aliens laid out some complex. It kind of reminds me of like a little Mass Effect-ish, where like the aliens lay out these complex equations and stuff for humans to eventually discover and unlock the potential and interdimensional energies and the forces of nature here on our planet.
It's been there right in front of us the whole time.
It only took him 30 years to deduce it. But that's, for a genius, that's not that long. So
why would they cover something so world-changing up?
Let's get into it, baby. So unfortunately for Hoagland, the media, scientists, and governments of the world did not take him seriously, and his theories were being heard by just a small minority who basically believed everything he said. But if we've learned anything by now, it's that nothing stops the Hoags. In fact, Richard Hoagland wrote a book on Cydonia, the Cydonia region of Mars, titled The Monuments of Mars, a city on the edge of forever.
Did you read this book?
Excerpts of it, but God, no, not the whole thing. I did not go out and buy that book.
I'm sure it's 80 pages long.
In the book, however, he dips to prove his theories that he's right. Instead of kind of leaning on science, which
you should,
yes, generally. Instead, he dips into Sumerian mythology to show and draw lines between the pyramids on Mars and those of Egypt to assert the following 6 claims. 1, alien astronauts set up a base on Mars. 2,
okay.
Those alien astronauts who set up a base on Mars then came to Earth and abducted our evolutionary ancestors and brought them back to Mars. 3,
okay.
They then took those creatures that they abducted on Earth and created a race of highly intelligent alien-human hybrids, which lends credence to what we covered in the Hollow Moon, Hollow Earth theory, where star children are we're being abducted and creating star children and alien hybrids. Perhaps it's been going on since the inception of very humanity itself. 4, once those hybrids are complete, bring those hybrids back to Earth. 5, be their tutors. Teach them the finer points of civilization and how to operate peacefully, which we've clearly failed. 6, and the final point.
Are we the guy? Are we the?
Oh! Don't jump ahead on me. 6. They then left a picture of us behind on Mars, so that one day we may rediscover it and rediscover where we came from. That's right. That we are actually the aliens on Earth.
So, point of order. Real quick, just throwing this out there.
Jesse, just open your minds, man.
Hold on. Why would an intergalactic spacefaring civilization put the base on Mars instead of on Earth?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. We're going to talk about that here in a moment.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
2.
Okay.
Why would they then go to Earth, kidnap people, bring them back to Mars?
They're not people
why
yet.
Not?
They're just like monkeys, more or less.
Sure, but why not do all that? It seems like there's a lot of travel and a lot of in between. Are they saying? I would love to ask Richard C. Hoagland if he thinks that aliens have like a bureaucracy where they're like, well, Article 7, Section 9 says we can't actually go to Earth, so we have to do this whole thing off of the books.
Well, let me ask
bring
you
them
this.
back.
Well, let me ask you this: when you go to a convention, right? Do you go into the hotel where the convention is that's filled with thousands of people, or do you get your own room uptown a little bit so you can descend upon the convention when you're ready? You know what I'm saying?
Alex, you know the answer is I go to the convention. Like, I don't
don't
stay way uptown. The convention, I want to go down there because I, like the aliens, want to be like, what up, players?
Well, to your first point, Mars and actually our solar system was not quite what it once was. Mars was actually a bustling planet filled and teeming with alien life. Cities and ruins.
Whoa. When is the theory on this? Because when men were apes, Mars was still dirt.
You could be wrong on that, though.
No, I am not. Science.
If there was an organization committed to making it seem like there was never a civilization on Mars.
Right.
If you think about it that way, it's possible that
what does this organization gain from keeping us dumb to that fact?
A mass panic on Earth.
What? It would destroy civilization.
That's no, it wouldn't. If mass panic on Earth and just people kind of people who believe in God, what does that mean? Religion would be turned on its head. I think it would. I think it's more. I think I do personally believe, whether I believe this stuff or not, I do personally. If it came out,
the level of conspiracy involved with this is so grand and on such a high scale, it's impossible to be a cover-up of this level. It literally, government cover-ups are exposed every day because people are idiots. You're telling me
here's the thing.
that on such
Here's
a
the thing,
grand
Jesse.
scale,
No. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. What if we are figuring it out? What if we have seen the proof?
Yes.
We have interacted with aliens, but the government's job is to spread so much misinformation that they let all this crazy, kooky stuff go out there that it is impossible now for us as people to separate fact from fiction.
Wait.
Time
Time
out.
out.
It's fiction.
I'm not disputing the fact. Maybe no one knows where humanity. Like, no one knows the missing link aspect of humanity.
Separate fact from fiction.
Yeah, like, all right, sure. Maybe aliens did come and make us. That's not what I'm saying. That doesn't even matter in this scenario.
Okay,
what I'm saying is the idea of all of this, that the aliens would set up a base on Mars, come to Earth, pull guys off of Earth, come and then train them, send them back, but then stay on Earth to teach them to be a civilization, which is insane, because why would they just build the base on Earth and teach them there?
Prime
the
directive.
logistics of the alien civilization are so backwards. How are they the ones that taught us anything?
Okay, counterpoint. What if the reason that they don't set up a base on Earth or whatever or any of that stuff is because we're kind of like a zoo to them. The planet
prime
itself
directive.
is
You don't
being
wanna mess with it.
sort of prime directive, like half prime directive. They mess with us and then
Well,
put
they
us
did
back.
make us hybrid.
Yeah, they totally avoided the prime directive.
What if they don't have it? What if they're just treating us like a science experiment? What if we're one of thousands of other alien species out in the universe that aliens are just kind of playing with or experimenting with?
But that's not what they did. Is not an experiment. What they did is they were like, we're going to teach you and make you into a civilization.
Maybe we're a
based off of
social
them.
experiment. Who knows?
Okay,
Who knows?
but in an experiment, people watch you and they watch you forever. So
and
the assumption is
they're still watching.
Right.
This
The
day.
assumption is then that they're still watching.
So the
but
other
again,
do you know what our asteroid belt is? To get back to the Mars thing. So this is all lumped into the same exact topic.
But again, the assumption is that 4.2 or whatever million years ago, when men were still ape,
however long,
they came. The problem with any of this is that it doesn't consider galactic timelines. It literally is so Earth-centered and full of poopy that it's literally just like they came to get some apes in Africa. Mind you, the vast majority of the world completely uninhabited. Why they were just like, you know what, we're gonna build our base on Mars. Still crazy to me. But then, no matter what,
we have a base here.
Well, but no matter what, the planet Mars.
Yeah.
The whole idea that it was bustling with life is geologically impossible.
There's the other theory
geologically impossible.
Okay. Well, while that may be true, there's still the other theory that while Mars wasn't teeming with life, what the asteroid belt is a destroyed planet that was destroyed during a solar system war between.
Now that shit I'd buy.
Yeah,
I'd buy that.
And that our moon was actually the moon of that planet, and then when that planet was destroyed due to the war that they had, those who went to Mars to set up a base. Either the moon itself drifted naturally to Earth and got caught on our gravitational pull, or the aliens themselves nudged the moon in our direction because it would help facilitate life.
Guys, I've been doing the math and I've been doing the research.
Okay.
I know now truly what happened, and and you can read about it in my new book called War of the Ancients. It's simple. There was another planet called Planet X, this planet was filled with many cultures and many civilizations, and a war broke out and they destroyed themselves, and part of the planet, it exploded a molten orb and became the moon to our Earth, and those who fled the planet became the first citizens and civilians and cultures on planet Earth. Done. See how easy that is?
It sounds right to me.
It sounds like it could be easy. It sounds like it could be right. It sounds totally plausible.
But we have evidence. The pyramids on Mars, the honeycomb structures, the main road.
We might be thinking about this totally incorrectly. Like, we could be bacteria in the world of aliens. Like, maybe they don't come here because to them, going from one planet to another is like thinking. Like, they don't even need to do it. Like, it could be.
That's true.
we could be, you know, that game that's like what's it called? Dreams, where you could just like create skates.
Yeah.
We might just be a fucking Illustrator file off on the
We're
side.
a simulation. That's
Then
a
why
simulation.
set up a base on Mars? All I'm saying is, why do the one? Like, all this to me is a dude trying to connect dots to make a drawing when, like, there just isn't an image there, right? Like, of course, well, they went to Mars and they did this, and that's why there are pyramids on Mars. But there are no pyramids on Mars. There's just mountains.
Well, what's the
It's
truth,
just a mountain.
Mathis? Why don't we have record of this?
Well, let's get into it, shall we? Well, first of all, let me just say, if that plot sounds really familiar, the aliens and all that stuff, that's because it's kind of the plot of 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's the parent thing. Just saying, it's not like it's not like he created it. He clearly plucked it elsewhere. But
He says he did a lot of things that
he did a lot. He certainly says he did a lot of things.
He says he designed the Pioneer plaque.
Pioneer plaque?
Like, you know, the one that like Carl Sagan and everybody like made. That's
He
like,
also says he's the one that came up with the idea to drop a feather and like a hammer on the moon at the same time, because if gravity's like as bad as it is, they should drop at the same rate.
right.
When in fact he wasn't the one to come up with that idea, and that was actually like somebody else within NASA who came up with that idea, and it's cited in a source. He also said he came up with something else that he didn't do, and it's cited in a source that somebody else did it, and it's ridiculous. But you might be asking yourself the question, as Jesse said. Certainly, then, if it's just that simple, like if it's just a bad picture, all NASA needs to do is send out another probe to Mars and take newer,
A real
clearer
picture.
pictures, a real picture, to truly clarify what was there, and you'd be right. Except NASA and the government as a whole is doing everything in their power to hide the truth. The Mars Observer probe, scheduled to snap new pictures in 1992, famously failed just as it entered the orbit of Mars. But is it so simple as a technical failure? Or did NASA sabotage their own vessel to hide the truth from us?
No, because that was 92, and in 98 and 2001 they did.
But maybe the base is on Mars because we can't get there. Maybe that's what.
That's also true. The other leading thinking is
Did they
1992
plan
was
4 billion years ahead? They were just like, in a couple million years, these guys are really gonna want to come see what we're up to.
Yo, the face was the finish line, my dude.
yeah. Well, so the other theory, like the theory that goes along with that, is like, what if
I
that
want to
point
shake you, Alex. I want to
NASA
shake you, shake the idiot out of you. I just want to like. "Grr."
This is how we learn.
This is not how you. This is how you make a bunch of idiots. This is so frustrating for me. It's so frustrating.
But what if in 1992 NASA wasn't fully convinced that there were aliens there, and that they did try and get some pictures, and then they actually got shot down by an alien force, and then the further attempts to take pictures there and out, now knowing the truth, they were actively sabotaged by NASA or photoshopped or filed incorrectly.
They've contacted Stanley Kubrick before. It's not
right,
unheard of.
exactly. But they still have to keep sending out probes, otherwise the public will get suspicious.
Right,
Anyway.
because why would we ever stop going if we're discovering stuff?
Exactly. So, then,
Foolproof.
of course, the U.S. isn't the only country that attempted this during the 80s and 90s. In the 80s, the Russians sent 2 unmanned probes to Mars, Phobos 1 and Phobos 2. The first of which failed before it ever reached Mars. It just kind of went kaputs in transit. While Phobos 2 arrived in 1989 and actually took photographs and then suddenly, quote, expired. In one of the pictures that did make it back to Earth from Phobos 2, however, there is a cigar-shaped shadow that can be seen on the surface of Mars. And this is true. You can actually go look at this picture from Phobos 2 from 1989, and there is a cigar-shaped shadow over Mars. However, while one could explain the irregularly shaped shadow as the natural satellite moon of Mars called Phobos that is already irregularly shaped, and its shadow is just being cast, it could also be a cigar-shaped UFO vessel that shot down Phobos before it finished its job.
And it wouldn't be the first cigar-shaped alien craft we've heard of. Yeah,
that's true. It wouldn't be the cigar-shaped. To further help to solidify that the government is trying to hide things, there were two letters from the government sent to NASA in the 60s that were uncovered that do say, should they ever discover evidence of alien life or whatever, that they would keep it secured,
classified.
It's a word. There we go. Yep. They would keep it classified and away from the public. That is actually true. That actually did get sent out. But at the same time, that is from the 60s and 70s, and who knows if that's still holding true to this very day.
I think I mentioned it on the show before. I can't remember. But there was some report about a think tank that decided that the way to do it with aliens is to like learn about them, keep it secret, and then like slowly introduce it into the public zeitgeist from all different medias.
Yes, yep, exactly. To do it via movies and comic books, to get the idea of aliens not to be publicly accepted fully first. That way, chaos doesn't spread fully amongst the people. But back to good old David Hoagland here. That wasn't still enough. People were still not convinced in 1992. Not enough to convince us still. Hoagland was not done yet. In 1996, he held a press conference in DC to unveil 30-year-old suppressed evidence revealing artificial structures on the moon and Mars, photos of astronauts walking among lunar ruins via leaked NASA and Soviet pictures. And he did hold that press conference, and he did show those photos of extraordinarily blurry, undiscernible maybe pictures of the moon and Mars and nothing more that was new, but he was going out of his way to truly convince us that we actually had photos of the Mars folk, or should I say our astronauts walking around lunar Mars. On top of that, there are off the record accounts of astronauts who walked on the moon saying they were surrounded by aliens watching them, that when they landed on the moon, spacecraft landed miles away from them and they could see figures in the distance watching them. That is true. There is
Who said this?
Oh shit, I wrote his name. I have his name. I can find it really quickly. It's
actually weird.
John Glenn is one.
Yeah, it's weirdly not uncommon for astronauts to talk about.
Yep, John Glenn, the famous sightings of unidentified bogies, including John Glenn's fireflies, and the luminous particles seen on many a space flight, but typically dismissed as wet blanket NASA cover-up artistry such as chipped paint. And
there's one audio recording of a space shuttle guy coming into orbit, and he's like, "There's something coming up on our side."
Yes, I've heard that.
Like, it's so crazy.
Yeah, that's what keeps me on the edge of like believing, is like hearing like astronauts who go off the record and be like, "No, dude, there's like crazy stuff happening."
Yeah, I'm so weirded out by that. Like, I don't know what that is. Like, how could you be an astronaut and then turn around and just like go full lie? You know what I mean?
Yes.
What's the point?
Yep, I agree. Like, while I would take this whole theory as, you know, with a grain of salt the size of Georgia. There are the things that do make me question and make me wonder, and it's those firsthand accounts of those who walked on the moon.
The idea that something is on the moon or that something is on Mars is the idea that I'm willing to swallow from this. But you know, when the more, what do you call it? Like, the more like resolution the idea has, the more like detail it gets, the harder it is to like convince me of things. But like, man, like the things that astronauts have said, the consistency between reports that are unrelated, that type of stuff always freaks me out.
Were you the ones that linked me the file, the video or the audio file of the pilot that was in?
That's definitely something that was linked to us at one point that we probably sent to you. Yeah.
That was wild too. The one with the not the pilot. I think it was a stewardess on an Aer Lingus flight or something like that. They had something come up crazy on their wing, and then somebody else another pilot had also radioed in.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Aer Lingus. That was really, really cool.
Well, this goes back to the thing that I think is fascinating about the vast majority of extraterrestrial, whatever it is that we do.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's that there is some stuff, and this is why out of all the things we talk about, I'm like, all right, I'll listen. There's some stuff that there are only so many people who have gone to space. There are only so many people who have actually looked at the stars and not just like been on Earth. So when they say stuff, you have to be like, okay, I'll listen to this. But with that said, the topic we're talking about is not that.
Right.
It's just not that.
Well, maybe not to you, Jesse.
All right, sure, it's all a cover-up. It's all the same people who are out there saying, I saw, I'm part of NASA and I saw spacemen, are the same people covering up the fact that there's stuff on. It doesn't, like, there's no sense.
There are disconnects, absolutely.
It's a strategy.
It is, like, that's
Imagine you get an email every morning if you're like an ex-astronaut from some black ops place that tells you, here's what you say to the press today. Here's what you do today. Like maybe there's a strategy there. You never know.
Well, one of the questions Jesse brings up, why, and Jesse, you love this. Don't even pretend.
Alex, you're a monster.
If we ever end up doing this in a studio, I'm gonna have like a little note of how many times Jesse reaches over the desk to just slap Alex in the
I'm
face.
like Mr. Smith. Like, I'm going to Washington right now for all the crazy people out there. You guys owe me. You guys owe me. I read all your emails.
I read all your emails too. The ones you send to the Chilluminati one. Oh man. There's some good ones. I love you guys so much. So one of Jesse's questions was, okay, why us then? Like, what makes humans special? And Richard Hoagland, being a man of incredible intelligence, well, has an answer for that as well. Extrapolating from the ambitious claims of David Hoagland and the not so original motive behind the alien stalking NASA, and why are aliens stalking NASA? Well, it's quite simple. Humans are violent. They're warlike species, and all we do is look for a reason to kill. And once we develop not only the technology, and I think I've mentioned this in previous Alien episodes, to split the atom and nuclear power and true mass destruction, outside of that, we were now actually leaving Earth. We were starting to explore the stars. And that immediately set up a red flag for the aliens. In that now this destructive species who does have harness the power of pretty destructive, pretty nasty weapons, now we have to put them on our radar. They're not giving us a choice. So these missions that NASA have been sending up, as I said earlier, are actually just decoys to keep the population under the impression that we are still exploring space. Meanwhile, we are rendezvousing with aliens to make sure and ensure, the government at the very least, that we are not destroying one another and are not doing anything to have the aliens feel necessary to come down here and annihilate us in turn, to wipe us out and start fresh, because if we get too nasty and we get too destructive, they don't want to deal with that.
Did Rod Serling write this theory?
Who?
Did Rod Serling write this theory?
Rob Sterling? I don't even know who that is.
He's the Twilight Zone guy. He's like,
I haven't really watched Twilight Zone.
Man's influence. It's like, I don't know. This idea to me is so, this one seems like Jesse always talks about how, stuff seems like sort of self-centered on the part of humans. Yes. The one where we're just too badass to be allowed to live is the most like this to me. This is like the Tom Cruise like version.
I think I agree.
They keep jumping onto the side of airplanes and crashing helicopters into each other.
Guys,
humans have gone too far.
If you guys, just Chilluminati bonus episode, go look for the trailer for The Mummy that got uploaded by accident with like half its audio missing, and you're gonna hear Tom Cruise screaming his lungs out with no reverb.
It's great. It's so good. It's one of my favorite.
Then you're gonna agree with the aliens. You're gonna wipe us out.
They've gone too far. Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, as I said, deviating a little bit away from Mars and focusing on the moon. Well, what about the moon? The moon, there are cities on the moon. What if the moon isn't what we think it is? What if the moon actually has an atmosphere, is teeming with life to this day, and everything we're seeing is just kind of deserted wilderness that the aliens don't want us to see? But there are actual ecodomes on parts of the moon that we have never seen that are
didn't China just land on the dark side of the moon though?
China did, yeah, actually.
Did they really?
Yeah, they just landed specifically on the dark side of the moon.
Yep. So who knows?
So they're definitely covering it up.
Not humans, a satellite of theirs.
Oh my god. Okay, I was like, what? There was a manned flight to the moon that I missed?
No.
But
like a rover
I'm here to posit that the moon is hardly the desert, the lunar wasteland that NASA would want us to believe it is.
It's made of cheese.
The moon is actually rather pleasant, with a saffron-colored sky. Vegetation and animal life in certain temperate zones, not all temperate zones. Snow-capped mountains covered with timber, lakes, rivers, alien communities of varying sizes, and natural anti-gravity monorails that bring people from place to place on the moon. Do I have your attention?
I'm interested. Like, I want to visit it.
How do they know that? Like, how do they have evidence to show monorails?
Well, in the blurry photos of something, they don't. The evidence of this is abductees being brought to the domes into the communities on the moon and being shown what true life here is before the abductees is being returned back to Earth. I'm dead serious. One is Adamansky. He was actually abducted by UFOs that looked like Nordic aliens, like the Nordics that we spoke about.
Okay.
I wish you could see Jesse's face, listeners. It's a mix of disappointment that I'm even saying these words.
And dare I say wonder?
A little bit of a childlike wonder sparked in his...
It's just, keep going. I'm in. Let's do this. I've strapped in for this one.
As for the cratering of the moon, they posit that a theory apparently out of all the heavenly firmament explaining that those familiar features are in fact the handiwork of sophisticated weapons used in a terrible war involving the moon, which took place less than 30,000 years ago. Apparently taking a cue from, Star Wars and George Lucas. These high-tech weaponries were the very same tech that destroyed the planet that created the asteroid belt, the same things that cratered the moon, and was heavily used during the solar system war amongst other aliens. That's why the moon looks like what it is. That's why it's so cratered. Aliens crashing in and using their super
like an
weapons.
intergalactic paintball.
That's what it was. It was like a paintball game.
Like
and
a
then
paintball arena.
Our winner takes Earth.
Yeah.
That's what the war was.
They're playing for pinks. Yeah.
Oh God. That'd be actually, you know what? I'd be okay with that. If that was the actual truth, aliens were like playing a game of war.
BattleBots?
Yeah, BattleBots for Earth, for possession over Earth, and then they can do with the creatures of Earth whatever they want to do.
I'm there.
I'm for
Basically the plot of Mortal Kombat, from what I'm hearing.
That's actually
we got to fight over the Earth realm. Okay.
That's unfortunate. However, not only the moon and Mars hold alien life. NASA also might know that a number of moons and planets in the solar system are inhabited by people with superior technologies, not unlike the bottle tech or the bottle job of Vesuvians, which is like the domes and stuff.
Humans?
Saturnians, Venusians, Venusians, there you go. Saturnians and Martians who spoke perfect, unaccented American English for those they abducted from America, of course. Yeah, the Martians, they spoke perfect, unaccented American English.
Are they saying that it's humans living in these places?
No, we are descendants from the Martians. Remember, they messed with our DNA.
Well, I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, are these more experiments that they're encountering, or are these more overlords?
These are more not experiments that they're encountering. These are coming from reports of those who are being abducted from Earth to be shown these domes by the aliens, by these Nordics or Venusians or Saturnians or what have you. And they're just being toured around. And typically what these abductees are told is that they have been chosen to represent either the Nordics on Earth and to spread the truth of what that they come in peace and that all this technology is real. And then nobody ever listens to them because they sound crazy.
They do sound crazy. That's unfortunate. That's a really good. That's a really good cover-up technique that they're employing.
It's interesting that the aliens never abduct scientists. They typically always abduct kind of just hobunky in the middle of nowhere people.
That's why the astronaut thing is so convincing to me, is because I feel like astronauts are basically fucking scientists. Like they're like, extremely educated about physics and space and just like science in general. And I feel like, that's a big convincer for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm actually with you on that for sure. I think most people could be. Part of the theory of all these being abducted and stuff is that the aliens are also giving warning to them, saying things that they can hope that these people who are being abducted and being brought back to Earth are going to help keep the superpowers in check so that they don't go insane with military, since if we ever bring our military to space, that could lead us down a path of complete and utter annihilation if we end up trying to bring weaponry into space. So that these people being abducted are supposed to be, I guess, prophet-like figures for the aliens to bring peace to our nations or stop our superpowers from going too ham. On the flip side, supposedly aliens are already working with our government, so those two don't really kind of mesh. Those two ideas don't really kind of mesh, unless that's what the government wants, of course.
It's all about levels.
Oh, disinformation, man. What's
exactly
real? What's
it's all
not,
about chain
man?
of command, baby.
Yeah, pretty much. There's another thing, exposed by a gaggle of whistleblowers here in the UK on Britain's Angela TV, something called Alternative 3, which is a plot hatched that was largely fictional and actually drawn from a fictional, like a mockumentary that aired on the TV. And what the idea was Alternative 3 was to take all those people in power who have money, wealth, influence, and to bring them into the safety of bunkers scattered throughout the earth, and then the world would be destroyed. Everybody would be wiped out, save those selected few, and then things would start fresh again, and then the aliens would come to Earth, and there'd be kind of this commingling, this peace brought between the two people. Alternative 1 and 2 were similar ideas, but not to the extent that Alternative 3 was brought to. While true, Alternative 3 was a satire, a mockumentary, a fake entertainment piece, there are those who believe that this was actually put out because there's truth behind it. And so a book was written, Case Book on Alternative 3. Conspiracy Sentry Jim Keith expertly debunks the poorly done science fictional hoax and then proceeds to demonstrate over the course of 159 pages that the British production was actually fiction based on fact. That Alternative 3 is right about one thing. Smart money is on the end of the world, and those with money and influence will be saved for the second birth of humanity.
Just like the movie 2012.
I'd never seen it.
There's like one ship, and they all like vie for position, and like basically the Illuminati are the ones.
Yeah, if you're super talented, super smart, or super rich, you can get on board. That's pretty much it. Everyone else dies.
And while it may sound insane that this Alternative 3, there is precedent for it. In fact, have you guys heard of Biosphere 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a biosphere in Arizona where a bunch of scientists or a bunch of people donning Star Trek jumpsuits sealed themselves out inside a domed ecosystem to see if it would work. And the biosphere authoritarian leader was a southwestern cultist who initially described the experiment as the next phase in human evolution. A preparation for humankind's inevitable migration to Mars.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that was the leader.
I thought Biosphere was funded by, like, a cultist led it? No, what?
It says, in fact, the Biospherian authoritarian leader was a southwestern cultist who initially described the experiment as the next phase in human evolution.
Yeah, it is owned by University of Arizona now, but it originally was
It did not start
It was
that
just
way.
a private enterprise originally.
Run by a cultist?
Yeah.
Southwestern cultist at the time.
Biosphere 1 was Earth. According to them.
Yeah, according to them, Biosphere 1 is our planet.
And Biosphere 2 is proof that dome cities will work.
Yep.
And they do work.
Yep.
How
Run
about that?
by a cultist?
Not anymore.
It was.
Not anymore.
It was.
It was run by a cultist. He's the one that started the whole program.
A cultist?
Yeah.
I don't know that I believe this.
He's a pretty crazy guy. His name is John P. Allen. I was reading about this one day.
You can look it up.
What? No, Biosphere.
Biosphere 1 is Earth. Keep that in mind.
When did this happen? When did the first?
What?
It was owned.
University. You're right. Wow.
Yeah.
I only know about the actual scientific missions. I know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a crazy person.
Yeah, 2011 is when the University of Arizona bought it.
Oh well, but hold on. No, we'll see. There's Biosphere 2, originally constructed 1987 to 1991.
Yeah.
It was a joint venture with John P. Allen and a bunch of other people. But from 91 to 93, a bunch of medical doctors and researchers lived in it, and John P. Allen was not involved.
No,
with that.
he was just involved in the initial creation.
He just built
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
He went out of his...
you guys had me thinking that there was like a cult leader inside the thing making
Not
a cult.
anymore. Just when it was built. Just when it first came to be.
I don't... the veracity of these claims, I question, but all right, I'm going to let you guys continue.
It's scientific now. The point being of Biosphere 2 isn't necessarily the cult leader and all that stuff. The point being Biosphere 2 is evidence that Alternative 3 could be a real thing. that biospheres, dome cities, like Alex said, can happen.
They work. There's a rainforest in there, man. It's crazy. It's in the desert. There's a rainforest inside.
Yeah. So, like, the point is, like, that's the proof that Alternative 3 could happen. But more or less, that is the general coverage of the giant cover-up happening on Mars and the lunar city and the moon. That is everything that is happening there now, what has happened in the past, how we came to be. Hollow Earth and Hollow Moon, technically still true. They still give credence that there is a hollow Earth and that there is a species in the hollow Earth and there's a better land there and all that good stuff. And that some of the people that get abducted by aliens don't actually leave the planet. They actually just go to the center of the Earth. We've covered that a little bit here. But our solar system is teeming with alien life. We are just kept none the wiser because of Photoshop, lying, misfiling of paperwork, government conspiracies, and all that nonsense to hide.
I would love something that I believe to be central to my understanding of the world to just come crashing down. I think, to me, that's why ideas like this are so attractive. Granted, Hoagland is a piece of shit. The guy doesn't.
Yeah. Let me clarify that. I completely forgot to go over that part because I wanted to save it for the end. Hoagland has no education. He never graduated high school. He's just a guy who saw pictures. In my opinion, if we want to get real, saw an opportunity to make himself the center of something, and then for following that, found a way to make money off of it. He's written books. He's written in other books. Clearly, he's still active today. I think his last interview was somewhere around 2015, 2016. Like, he's still around. He's still doing this. This is all he does. But if you want to argue the veracity of Richard Hoagland himself, there's not any. He really doesn't have any. He's a pseudoscientist. A lot of scientists call him a pseudoscientist. He's just a guy who, as Alex said earlier, was just kind of connecting dots and lines and seeing something that wasn't really there. He especially lost me. Like, I could almost buy a little bit, like, he sees himself, like, maybe some ruins, like the pictures are really hard to tell. But once he started talking about the mathematical equations that lead to interdimensional energies and stuff, I'm like, all right.
I just don't get it, because you could take that picture from another angle and all the numbers will be different.
Yeah, exactly. That's also true. That's also 100% true. The aliens would have had to predict that we were going to send a satellite, right, and hit it from that angle and all this other stuff. Or maybe the aliens expected we were never going to see it and we just caught it by chance. Like, who you could always say, that's the thing with conspiracy theories, right? You can always say, or this, and you can't really disprove it. That's what makes them so compelling for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I feel it. I don't really respond that much to the idea of cover-ups. Like, I think a lot of people get excited about, like, the idea of cover-ups, but, like, just the idea that something like that could happen is exciting to me, and I'm just ready for that piece of information to come out. Like, I always think, like, if I was just at, like, a Laker game and then an alien just came in,
just came down
in just among, like, 20,000 people
and just dunked on.
Yeah,
boom. No, that's when LeBron, like, his holographic cover up dissipates and he's like a Nordic gray or something.
His skin blows off and his skeleton is just like platinum bones, and he just walks and he's an alien. I don't know.
Go ahead. I would love it too. I've been knee deep in alien stuff for the past couple of weeks. Obviously, this a little bit lighter, but I've been reading Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind, which actually just goes over the MIT hosted alien abduction conference back in the early 90s, written by a physicist, not by anybody like not by some hack. He's like an actual doctor, which is really interesting because he talks more about it, like the case studies and the similarities between some of them, and then going from that and then going into this, it's just such a 90-degree turn. It's such a hard turn.
But the problem with all this is that it's, like, dangerous, and that to delve into the world of conspiracy theory, on such a level where you're like, don't trust scientists because they're lying to you.
Oh, that's
the slippery slope on that is something that we see now in reality, where it's like, don't trust scientists,
the news
don't trust
is
government,
just all working together to
lie.
Trick us.
Yeah. And once you get into that, then
there's no turning back.
Is real. Yeah. Everything is fake, and only a few select people are the ones who know the truth, and you have to trust them. And
it's like flat
9 times out of 10, those are the people grifting your ass, you dummy.
Yeah,
those are the ones. Those are the Richard C. Hoaglands who are, like, making claims that they helped make the Pioneer plaque, or, like, they're the ones who coined important phrases throughout his. Like, of course, they're just gonna lie to you because you don't believe the people who are telling you the truth. That's all.
Yep.
And it's dangerous to go down this route.
It is.
That's not to say that government hasn't lied before. It's not to say that scientists haven't screwed up. It's not to say that there could be aliens out there who are like, I'm going to go dunk on LeBron. It's not to say that's not true. But the minute you're like, it's all a lie to cover up the conspiracy that there's a Mars base, like once you're there,
you could believe anything.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's dangerous.
It's a very clear line. You do not cross it because, like Jesse said, you lose all concept of reality at that point. Anything is possible to the point where you've lost. It's this, like you just said, it's dangerous. I think you can just leave it at that. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
It's okay to do what we do, where we just fucking laugh at it and make fun of it. But me and Alex, at least the three of us, hold a little bit of a stronger hope or belief that aliens are real, and even Jesse believes like aliens. There's very good chance that aliens are out there, but don't cross the line of
believe educated people.
Yes, believe educated people, which is why reading the Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind book, which is written by a fucking physicist and like co-authored by another scientist, is infinitely more interesting to read because everything's being presented as a science and a fact, and there's speculation, and there's not like aliens are doing it. It's just looking at the what they have for evidence and that kind of thing, which is what makes things like Project Blue Book way more interesting than these conspiracy theories, because that's like actual government research going into.
Yes, that stuff's fascinating, where it's like the government said this or scientists said this, and you're just like, oh, okay, like there is no cover up here. They research stuff, and it turns out there might be something, and that I think is phenomenal.
That is cool. But for fun shit, I love doing this stuff too, because it's hilarious and it's great. And who knows? You never fucking know. Maybe one day we'll see Alex courtside watching the Lakers as breaking news happens. The roof opens up. A tall white
Emperor of the Zinthar Empire jumps in and just dunks.
Seats. Honestly, I'll just take the tickets.
You don't want to see a tall white dunk on LeBron?
I don't know if I can handle it, man. I don't know if I can handle it.
I'm going to be real. I think even in basketball, the tall whites would suck.
Yeah, it's true. We already learned. Larry Bird got bodied. Nah, Larry Bird is one of the greatest basketball players ever to live. Don't get it twisted. But imagine you're looking at the basketball game and then a dude materializes on the court. Everybody in this place sees it. That's the thing that's exciting to me.
That was Space Jam. We've all seen it before.
They were cartoons.
Space Jam was a documentary to induct
Michael Jordan was in it. How's it a cartoon if Michael Jordan's in it, guys? Come on.
All right.
Use your brains.
Let's get out of here.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. That's the end of episode 21 of Chilluminati Podcast. We love you guys so much.
Can I issue a question to the listeners? Just
it's equally your podcast.
Hit me back on Twitter, guys. Should I do the Trump theory?
Oh, the time traveling.
Should I go deep on it? Should I take it more seriously than I should?
I will say this, and let the viewers, obviously the listeners, answer for themselves. I'm very curious, but I will say this: I did a little tentative research from reading it, and already it begins to fall apart once you put a
microscope on.
Put a microscope. You put it under a microscope. The book that they reference, the one that dissolves the presidency and all this other stuff, it's actually like the reverse of what's happening today. Congress actually, in that book, dissolves the presidency because the president is looking into the corruption of Congress. So to save themselves, they just dissolve the presidency. Whereas it feels the opposite is what's happening right now.
But he swore he was going to drain the swamp, and QAnon said it's coming.
Yeah, WG1 MAGA something.
Maybe I'll do a QAnon / Trump time travel one. We'll see. There you go.
I need to hit you guys with something. I need to like really blow your minds.
Okay.
It needs to happen. I'm going to get you. And I'm going to be like, do you believe in it? You're like, I do. And I'm like, idiot, I made it up. It's going to happen. I'm going to get you.
Have you guys heard of Missing 411?
No, what is that?
That's going to be our next topic that I'm doing, by the way.
Missing
411. So this book, I got it from one of our researchers. She has access to a library. This book is out of print. It hasn't been in print since 2012. It's about missing people that go missing in the same woods like every year. The government has acknowledged it. It is an actual thing that is happening, and they don't do much to save it. And you can actually look. I'll show you boys.
Oh, is this like in the woods? In the backwoods?
The national parks?
See? Yeah, the national parks where they like
cool.
go missing. Yeah.
Is there a movie about this?
There is. There is a documentary.
I think I've seen this, or maybe I don't know.
I think you can, if you have Amazon Prime, I'm pretty sure you can watch it for free.
Oh shit!
If you want a preview, Missing 411. This is one I'm like deep diving into. It may be a multi-parter. I'm very pumped for this one.
I might go in.
This is going to be cool. Yeah, please do if you guys want to get ready. And if you viewers want to get ready for that as well. In the meanwhile, we've got all kinds of different episodes in the works. Thank you guys for watching. Pimp our stuff first. If you listen to us on iTunes, we're almost at 700 5-star reviews on iTunes.
Yeah.
Go push us past 700 reviews on iTunes. Their rating system is what determines if we ever end up in like the top podcast, new podcast of the week or whatever, which is obviously really awesome. Also, yeti.com/collection/Chilluminati, or just search Chilluminati on the Yeti. You can find all of our products up there. T-shirts, hats, stickers, and maybe some new stuff coming along the way. You can tweet at all of us personally at Mathis Games for myself, Jesse Cox for Jesse, and Faciane A for Alex. You can see all those links below. And a big thank you as well to our assistant researchers for helping us out when we go into the deeper stuff. This was just a Mathis episode. This was a Mathis Goes Crazy episode.
I liked that episode. I had a fun time.
Yeah, it was a good time. So we'll be back sooner rather than later. Is there anything else I'm missing? Or is that everything? Think we're good?
Yeah, I think you got it.
Yeah, I think
All
that's
right,
it.
Cool. We love you guys. Thanks for listening.
Peace
And
out.
we'll see you next episode.
Peace out.
Goodbye.
Bye.